we have a very interesting topic, AI, data, and trust. And I have a very eminent panel, and they will all be kind of introducing themselves very shortly. And I really kind of try to make sure that you have some good takeaways from this panel discussions, right? Maybe 30 seconds for me. My name is Kaushik Shah. I'm a partner in Deloitte Consulting. 20 years in this area of AI, data, and primarily working for major banks, insurance companies, and NBFCs. And as I look into the panel, we have good representations from the. Thank you. From banks, insurance, NBFCs, even global banks, and so on, right? So maybe a quick round of intro, and then we'll get started. From the side of you, if you can quickly talk about some of these key initiatives that are taking from the AI and data point of view, and then we'll jump into the topic.
Yeah, sure. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thanks to Mr. Manoj Agarwalji and also Banking Frontier for inviting me to be part of this panel discussion. So I'm Shantanu Sengupta. I've been a global banking leader, worked for 30 years across global banks, both here in India and in international locations. And after about 3 decades in banking, I now currently serve on global boards and also a couple of Indian companies. Responsible AI governance is an area of passion for me, and I do a fair amount of thought leadership and article writing on this topic as well.
Hi, my name is Abhijit Bhattacharjee. I am a CIO of Utkarsh Bank. Around 27-28 years is Indian banking, MNC Bank, and various others in various streams in technology, product, business, operations. In a true sense, I'm a CIO, so I'm a practitioner, so I should be able to bring the practitioner's view, which is practical on the table. Happy to interact. And thanks, Manoj and Banking Frontier.
Good afternoon. Thanks to all of you for being here, and thanks to the Banking Frontiers team for having me here. Thanks, Manoj. My name is Indranil Pandit. I am the Chief Digital Officer at Federal Bank. I own the digital channels, so I sit at the crossroads of the intersection between business and technology. We are, as a bank, we've always been digital at the fore and human at the core. That's the motto you'll find in all our communications and annual reports. We are rebuilding many of our journeys. Many of them are agentic. Artificial intelligence is something which is pretty old. We've been using it for a long time for customer segmentation, proximity analysis, etc. Generative AI is something we started using a while ago. Agentic is something that we are very, very bullish on, and we'll probably speak about it during the session today. Thank you.
Hello. Myself Sharad Jambukar. I am a CITO for Aadhar Housing Finance, and I am working with BFSI sector since last 25 years and work with all SBIs, ICICIs, and Mobility Finance. And for last 2 years, I have been actively engaged on how AI can make difference to the business, and that is especially focused area. Along with this, I am a researcher and also working on technology and innovation aspects in management studies. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. So I'm Ajay Bhosle, Chief Operating Officer for Microsoft Communications. We are an MSSP provider, a security service provider, as well as a network connectivity provider. So I have almost like 20 plus years of experience into telecom and cybersecurity domain. Specialized into security operations. We are dealing right now into AI SecOps, bringing in faster detection, faster response, and faster resolutions for all our customers. Yeah, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Abhin Matthew. I head the fraud risk and strategy at State Bank of Mauritius, India. So I look at fraud aspects, where we try to see how AI can actually build a friction for all kind of frauds that take place in the market today, and how ensure that the customers and the bank remain safe. So that's where we deal with business, we deal with IT, being the core, one of the core fraud risk functions, we have to ensure that all the data points of the banks are safe. So that's the area that we look at, and I believe that's the discussion.
Thank you. So now, quickly kind of setting the context, like what we're discussing today, and this is something taking clue from what Shankar just called out in terms of the AI journey. Probably you're not able to see the entire slide. You have to imagine a part of it. So, so basically, that if I look into this AI journey, what is started with maybe like a decade ago and so even more than that, where organizations actually started looking into the specific point problems and solving that using AI, and kind of a pilot or POC that's kind of they're building on for those solutions, right? Those problem areas. And many of these actually kind of started kind of push from technology companies who are kind of bringing some kind of offerings, and they want kind of as part of the selling process, they advised organizations to kind of try for certain POCs in the space of say demand forecasting, customer acquisitions, and so on, right? Those DAs, definitely organizations do not have any kind of AI strategy in place, because those are, as I said, like pointed solutions. Departments or specific stakeholders are taking initiatives to kind of go there. Cut to last kind of a couple of years, what we're seeing in the Indian BFSI market is that organizations are having a corporate strategy, may not be an enterprise strategy, so to say, but at least in the space of say, and to improve my customer experience and what would be my AI solutions in that space, and to improve my reach out to the customer in terms of when I do cross-sell, upsell, and how I can use AI for the entire end-to-end process, right? So that's our stage 2. Now stage 3 is basically where you already have an enterprise strategy in place, and you have identified some of the strategic objective of the organization. Say, for example, expense ratio is something a big problem for me, and to reduce expense ratio, I need to take up certain AI interventions, and organizations is working towards that, and there are multiple functions are involved into it, and it's an enterprise-wide initiative that the bank is taking, right? And the last stage, where we are not seeing many organizations in India, honestly speaking, at this point of time, who are taking a lead in terms of, organizations are looking up to them. We are seeing some of these organizations, and we'll talk about it because we have good representations from the global organizations point of view also, where JP Morgans of the world or Bankham of the world, where they have actually taken leadership positions in terms of using AI, solving their business problems end to end, and making that core part of the strategy, right? Now, looking into that, and I think then where the trust factor coming into picture. As the journey started with pointed solutions, they are kind of, we are just looking into this, how accurate the model is. We try to kind of look into that, and before we actually kind of started using those model output, etc. But as we're moving towards more of an agentic AI-based solutions, where we are seeing that the multimodal agent are kind of given a particular problem statement, they're deciding their own steps, they're connecting different database, different stakeholders, taking actions, and then finally reaching the goal, right? This entire process is being covered by agentic AI solutions or multi-agent model and so on. So there, a significant aspect is coming up what these multimodal agents are doing. Are they reliable in nature? Is it in terms of whatever solutions that they're giving, how much I can rely on that? The capability part of it, then transparency, whatever it is producing, is it explainable, right? And that's something a key aspect is coming up. And lastly, humanity. Now, the interesting factor of when you talk about trust in AI, it's not different between trusting a human being, right? So these are the trust is a human phenomena, right? Now we are seeing that phenomena, establishing that phenomena in AI, because we have now started working with AI, right? With that, if I just quickly take you through, it's a complex one, and maybe that entire part may not be visible to you. We are Deloitte is having a framework which can actually help you to understand how to measure the trustworthiness in your AI model, in your AI journey, or AI initiative, right? It's a separate, like there are multiple parameters are involved, etc. As I said, like I'll not get into the detailed part of it, but there are such frameworks available which can actually look into the trustworthy part of it. Now, coming back to my panel members, with that kind of context, there are three core subjects that involved in this topic, right? AI, data, and trust. If I can ask all of you, and you can go one by one, right? In terms of what do you think is the most focus, maximum focus that is getting in terms of the boardroom discussions or organizations initiatives, where organizations are spending more money and paying more attention? Yeah, if you want to start.
Thanks, Kaushik. So I know it's a session just after lunch, so let me try and get the audience involved. I have a simple question, right? If an AI system denies you a loan tomorrow or flags one of your transactions as suspicious, would you trust that decision if your bank wasn't able to explain to you how the algorithm arrived at that decision? Yeah, so I see a resounding no. AI has, obviously transformed financial services like no technology ever before. Yet, financial services and certainly banking is built on one key word or one fragile foundation, if I may, which is called trust. Trust takes decades to build, but you can lose trust in a couple of seconds, right? So trust really is the currency of the financial system. So the defining challenge, right, that we have is how do we innovate at AI speed while preserving trust in the financial system, right? I know some of the other panelists, while introducing, mentioned about Agentic AI, etc., coming into the fore. So we are moving from automating processes to decision influence to now automating actions. That clearly changes the governance and trust equation completely. So when AI starts influencing and taking decisions, and judgment and human judgment becomes subservient, governance becomes as important as the technology itself to maintain trust in the system. So I think those are my opening remarks.
Sure. So according to trust is kind of the most critical at this point of time. Obvijit?
Yeah, so if you are asking this question to a different panel where the bank people are not there, the answer probably could have been different, but what is said, we are a business of managing risk. We are business of managing trust. So trust, in that terms of the three trusts will come up, then the data, and then the others. I think that is the sequence. But if you are talking about board level, and he himself is a board member, they'll ask another question which they are not saying. They'll talk about ROI. And if I do an AI model, I set up an AI model, I take so many tokens and I reduce 10 guys sitting in Calcutta, which is 10,000 rupees a month, is a 1 lakh, and I spend 3 lakhs of token, the board will come back and talk to us. So, overarching, the point what I'm trying to drive is, while these things are important, the entire thing need to make a business sense for the bank, and as a board perspective, I think they looked into that.
But
that as well.
among AI, data, and trust, which is most important?
Yeah, as I said, trust, data, and AI.
Trust.
That is a sequence I would go for. I would say none of them is not important, everything is important. But you have to, the trust is overarching layer. They say you make a system, security is overarching layer. So trust is overarching layer, data is a wheel, and AI is the, I think, the innovation of the differentiating factor. So that is how I look at it.
Indranil?
So I agree, it's very difficult. You can rank 3 items if they are in the same category.
Right.
Trust, data, and AI are not in the same category. They coexist. You can't have one without the other. If you ask me only one thing, then it's trust. The banks are in the business of trust. There were banks who were opening LCs and guarantees even before AI came along, before computerization happened.
Sure.
So you can't have a bank without trust because we are, managing people's money. AI is a tool. It's nothing more than a tool. It's something which is relatively old. The AI has its origins in the 1950s. AI as we know it today, what we call AI is less than 3 years old. November 2022 to be precise. Generative AI is what AI I think we refer to now, and Agentic AI is even younger than that. All these are tools, and they have to fit in the. And you made a very good point. If this was a panel of bankers, probably the answer would be different. We cannot afford to play with people's money or their trust. And nobody can, not even non-bankers, because now DPDP is coming. If your data were to suddenly get plastered all over the internet, I'm sure there will be like 250 crores or whatever number is there to be paid. All of them coexist. So, and data is something which you cannot have AI, because otherwise, there are only two things which AI needs, honestly. One is data and the other is computing. And that is why you see generative AI now coming of age, because both these things are available in plenty. Because otherwise you had compute but no digital data. Now everything, all the financial transactions are flowing on digital rails. That's why you have a lot of data. And compute is there because likes of NVIDIA have come up. You cannot have effective AI without having good data. So that's just the raw material. Again, very good points already made, but I think I'm just reiterating them.
Perfect. Sharad?
So I echo with the panel members. The most important point what Indranil highlighted, AI is nothing but a technology component. So earlier also, whenever this particular digital transformation, what we have been talking about, from paper to paperless journey of every banking or financial services, what we have virtually moved from a paper-based contract between customer and the financial institution to a digitally signed, digitally documented trust. So that's it. So that is the only progress which we have done, if you ask me. And of course, the cost to income ratio has to be lower and lower as we want to spread our business across the territories and also so reach, then your competition, doing it fast. These are the critical pointers. So boards, wherever I have interacted with fellow CIO colleagues as well as few board members who have been talking passionately about this, largely everybody is seeking about velocity. They are looking forward to a speed in doing whatever businesses are doing today, and they are more interested in knowing how AI can surprise us, how AI can do better for us. So I think it is more a magic moment as of now as far as technology is concerned, which otherwise when banking was pre-CBS era, at a particular cusp where everybody was bothered about whether should we or should we not do the digitization, core banking solutioning. And that is the same thing I think currently we are following. Only it is more hype. It is everybody is interested in knowing something or the other we are doing in this space.
Got it. Fantastic. I think that's helpful. So far what we saw is that trust is the key, the most important factor as we talk about AI, data, and this topic, right? Now coming to you, you're from a technology company, right? When you interact with your customer, like your kind of customers in the sense that whom you're providing the service, etc. What is the kind of view that you get whenever they have some AI-related investments making, etc. So from cyber angle and so on, what is that they kind of prioritize most?
So that's a very good question. So in our discussions with our customers, the major objective that comes around, so the final goal is again building the trust, because the business runs onto that, right?
Right.
And again, how we are able to provide that trust is by securing the data. So the key objectives that we work along is how secure your data is, what all policies, frameworks, compliances, and everything that we can put in place, okay, with continuous monitoring, with having threat intelligence in play. How we can secure that data is very, very crucial, very important. Any impact to that definitely impacts the trust, right? And when the AI is in play, the attack surface is changing. The complete attack surface is changing. The new attacks are evolving, like prompt injections, and then there's model poisoning and others. So so what we suggest to our customers is, when you are into your AI adoption journey, you should be involving security from the strategy level, not at the end after deploying the AI adoption. So that's how we think about, and that's
Right.
what.
No, that's a very interesting aspect. Now, I mean, from your point of view, fraud is one area, and we are seeing that AI is generating fraud, and AI is also being used to arrest fraud, right? What is that, in our view, should be the priority for organizations when you talk about AI data and trust?
See, from a fraud perspective, always, for example, I'll start with an example. Now I go to a DigiFirst bank, which doesn't have much branches, right?
Right.
You can call it a Gen Z bank or DigiFirst bank. I go and open an account. In the next 2 months, I see I have lost few amount of money. Okay, but I have, without my knowledge, without my intervention, that I have not shared anything. Now that's the money lost to me. That happened once. Now that happened again after some time.
Right.
So that's the trust is lost in the bank. I will move out. I will you cannot secure my funds, right? Now imagine you already have a bank which you've been banking for 15 years. Okay, it's a bank that you have been banking say from the time you've turned 18 onwards. Now again, as fraud is fast paced right now, right? So it's even capturing the ones who are vintage, even capturing the ones who are new to the banking also. So at that point of time also, if I see that my bank is not able to catch up to what is the pace of the market, and I face the same issue over there, that I'm losing money over there also, and the bank is not able. See, one, maybe the customer might be able to understand, okay, but if it happens repeatedly, again the trust is lost. If my money is not safe, I mean, nothing is there. I'll have to move on to some other alternative. So I believe trust is always the factor. Okay. Now, customer will not ask, whether my data was gone out, whether your AI was not able to capture, because he doesn't care about data, AI, and all those things. For him, it's money. For him, he has given you the money to take care of it. So you have to take care of it. That's the end goal for the customer. Nothing more than that. So I believe trust is actually paramount, and I resonate with the panelists.
Right. Fantastic. So I got a very unipolar panel today, and it's a very clear view. Let me just do a quick audience check, in this topic, AI, data, and trust, and you're representing your, organizations, right? So if I call out, what is the most, the area where the organization is spending maximum amount of time, effort, and focus at the board level, at the mid-management level, and so on, what would be that? AI? How many of you think that AI is getting the maximum focus at this point of time? Right? Good. Very few. Okay. Looks like if I give more time, then more hands will be up. Data? No focus. We are all matured. Okay. Thank you, sir. And trust? Okay. Okay. Thank you. So it's a very interesting, scenario that what we are seeing that the organization the way it's shaping up. Nowadays, right, even 5 years before also, there is significant discussion was going on data part of it, right? In terms of organizations are trying to set up a proper data platform and so on. But as you walk into the corporates today, majority of the BFSI organizations, they have a data in place. Definitely, some of them are going for modernizations, some of them are on-prem, going to on-cloud, and so on. So hence, data's point of view, things are more or less in place is what we feel. But however, some of the topics like data governance, even 2 years before when I used to walk into a bank and would talk about it, people used to consider that as a theoretical discussions. Bata dijiye kya bolna hai. Many of them could not really relate to the importance of it. But suddenly, with the AI in place, we are seeing significant value of data governance into place, right? It's not coming to you you are, looking into the data strategy for the bank as a whole. So according to you, like, what is those data governance aspects coming into play in terms of for this AI journey for an organization, right? And what are the key aspects of data governance that you should need to look into it? Yeah.
I think some of those already got mentioned by my fellow panelists. Some of them you mentioned yourself. I think the most important when you're talking about AI specifically is, as they call it, explainability, accountability, and interpretability. Because by regulation also and by fiduciary duty also, every bank has to be able to explain the decisions that they take.
Right.
And there's, like you mentioned, and I'm aware of your framework. It's a very robust framework that Deloitte has. Those kind of frameworks are important. I think the RBI has done a brilliant job of coming out with some of these guidelines. So the free AI, it was not a guideline, it was more of a framework. But now the kill switch that has been introduced, for example, some of those safety trips have to be there, safety features have to be there. Apart from that, I think when you say data governance, one thing also is a little bit of a segue is that most banks, I mean, I work with 3 foreign banks and 3 Indian banks, so I can't say it's unique to any one set of banks. But banks come with a very long history. We come with a 90-plus-year-old history. Wells Fargo probably is even older than us. How do you actually get that data into a form which is AI friendly? A lot of the data is in hard copy form, some of it is in mainframes, some of it is in non-AI compatible format. So how do you actually get that, clean that, filter that, and then put guardrails? The last part that I'd like to speak about is when you speak of Agentic AI or Generative AI, and you mentioned a very interesting word at the beginning, point solutions. Many organizations are today in a hurry to show that we are doing AI. And then the easiest way out is to kind of pick up some AI use case and stick it and, chalo AI ho gaya. The real risk over there is you're going to end up, and this becomes especially acute when you go into the agentic world, you're going to have, many agents running around and not somebody. How do you control so? Because the agent is like a human being, virtually. Right? If you don't know what is happening, and if the agent tomorrow goes rogue, how are you going to be able to control it? So I think the last aspect of data governance is that there has to be a central guardrail. There has to be a central platform where you apply these guardrails or policies, and those then automatically percolate across the organization. I know it's a slightly diffuse answer. I don't know if I've actually addressed the question you asked, but yeah, that's my perspective.
Absolutely, I think that's very important. Or would you like, from your perspective, like while big banks, they've started this journey sometime back from a small finance bank point of view, how things are being taken care of as far as data governance is concerned, and especially for the purpose of AI journey?
So, I tell you, it's actually a little easier. Because as a small finance bank, I don't have a legacy of a large bank. And I can do a lot of things which is, a large bank will take years to do, I probably will be going to do much quicker. In a sense of data platform, if you talk about my personally, and I know the small finance bank, the ecosystem as well. Again, what you said is right. Everybody more or less has set up the data platforms on, and some of them now wondering what to do with this data platform. And he also said this is the various steps you need to do to get the governance done. Now, we all agreed over here, mutually, trust is the topmost one. And if you talk about trust, and you just go one step down, what is the technology layer is the data governance. So, if you don't have data governance, even if you have a data lake, it doesn't work. So I think many people are doing multiple things in order to get the stuff done. I think one of the important things is the awareness. Awareness of the technology folks, awareness with the business folks to know it is not the data it is important, but the purity of the data is also important. The criticality of the data also is important. So I think that awareness sometimes do not come. You have to have a guardrail to ensure that the data doesn't get updated. As I said, I'm a practitioner, so I'll probably answer with the small tips what probably we do at our side. And I think this cycle goes by anybody who's sitting over here running application programs. We do a CR, we do a change management, correct? So that's a part of any application we do. And what is the typical process? There is one guy write business requirement, one guy write functional requirement, and one guy do a development and roll out. You do agile, you do SLDC, whatever. But more or less process goes like this. Now, if you look into the ecosystem, and not for you but for others, the MIS guys come to the town and nobody looks at it. Everything everybody does, and ask the MIS guy, you take the MIS out, and if the MIS is wrong, everybody say, okay, look, the MIS is coming incorrectly, data is coming incorrectly. And the poor guy, he said, you giving me garbage and giving me garbage out. So it's a practical scenario. So I told my business analysts, who the hierarchy of the organization, they come a little higher wise, I see by any of my FSGs have to be signed up by a MIS guy. And the scenario changed dramatically. I started 6 months back, and after 6 months, the quality of my data drastically changed. Obviously, I cannot change the legacy on a day one, but at least my ongoing perspective goes. So, my moot point is technology is one side, but the attitude of the people and the understanding and the awareness of the people is also important to make a in terms of MNC banks. I worked in MNC banks, they have a complete setup. It's like a pipeline, it is there. For a bank like our size, it is very difficult to do. We cannot put that many of people over there. So we have to find out innovative solution in order to get the ecosystem.
No, that's very interesting what you just concluded, and that's why we have seen some of these innovations in this area actually coming from smaller size of organizations, because they work with limited resources, and they have to really find the ways to kind of cross that path, right? Chandra, coming to you, so the global banks, right, Wells Fargo's of the world and so on, they have already taken this journey long back, right? Maybe 5 years before or a decade before and so on, right? What would be some of the key learnings that you can take for the global banks, which will be useful for the Indian BFSI sector?
Thank you. I'd like to, just before I answer that question, Kaushik, if you permit me, just a quick sentence on the data issue which you mentioned, because I think that's critical. I think one of the panelists did mention that data is indeed the fuel for AI. I couldn't agree more, but importantly, it has to be trusted data. And by trusted data, we mean not just secure, but where there is data governance, privacy, etc. So if we look at the training data itself, right, even before the actual data, it has to be free from bias, free from discrimination, and actually represent the population whose use case it is supposed to serve. So garbage in, garbage out, yes. Flawed data can lead to flawed output, but more importantly in AI, it can just amplify those errors and bias, right? So that we need to keep in mind. Coming back to global banks, and I'll also bring in the board example as I serve on some global boards. I think the first things first, and I think Kaushik, you made a mention of it. I think the first thing is basically not look at AI as a standalone thing, but integrate it with the strategy. Integrate with both strategy and risk, because as we all know, AI has lots of risks, and understanding those risks, mitigating them are very important before you deploy AI at scale. So let me bring the banking and board example together with one example of what is happening, globally, and I'll talk about risk management, because banking is all about risks, right? So even today, for example, certainly in the Indian context, but in many places we see that whether it is the chief risk officer or the risk management team, or indeed the board or the risk committees, we are all governing with a rear view mirror, whereas what is actually required is a radar, right? And that's where one of the most compelling use cases of AI comes in, which is increasingly being adopted globally, which is real-time risk dashboard, right? Predictive risk. So if you look at reports, risk reports, from the last quarter, that's history, right? It has pointers to what may happen in the future, but it's not predictive, right? However, with real-time AI-enabled dashboards, you are able to pick up stress signals much earlier before the losses in a credit context actually, sort of materialize. So these are, great examples, which we can look at. I think in India we've started with some of these things, but I think still it's more at a pilot or a POC stage rather than a full-blown, commercial thing. The final point I wanted to make, and where I think some progress has been made, certainly with Indian fintechs and indeed some Indian banks, is really the financial inclusion part of it, right? Where use of alternative data and AI models is increasingly helping, giving credit access to the underbanked population, right? MSMEs, etc. So I think from my perspective, risk, lending, etc., coming from a corporate banking perspective, and having that, radar rather than just having to rely on the past, would certainly be useful use cases.
That's really insightful, Shantanu, and I know that some of these SIBs are already taken up that approach and taking some initiatives around that. So, Sharath, coming to you, being a CIO of an NBFC, what are the technological investments or critical areas are there to make this AI journey, what are the decisions that you're making to make this AI journey as a more sustainable and secure for the organizations, because it has a lot of risks that we're anyway kind of discussing, right? But from a technology point of view, what are the choices that you're making to make this journey sustainable and secure for the organization?
I think this is a challenge, or this is the problem everybody is solving as a CIO or CTOs. Very first prerequisite for AI, as we already are discussing as a key pointer, is data. But apart from that, the digital transformation or the digital foundations, that also is one of the most important prerequisite, which I was also referring to core banking or something like that. Right. So I would like to share that prerequisite part first. If that is addressed in a well articulated manner, then I think the AI challenges will be resolved with another three parameters. So first is digital transformation. One should look at a simple Gartner-based approach, where systems of records, systems of integration, and systems of innovation. So all of your business models or business activities, are you able to put all the transactions into systems of records? Are they robust enough, scalable enough, and secure enough? And that is the first condition you should meet. Then you should have ability to integrate with anything in the ecosystem. Then it is internal systems, then external systems, and then third-party worldwide systems. So likewise. So that is another ability of integration, where you should have good middlewares, APIs, and all other ability to connect. Then third comes the layer of innovation. So systems of innovation. And I think AI will fit into that third part. So organizations which have already mastered the first two layers, systems of records and systems of integration, I think the third layer is AI addition into that. So now coming to with this requisite of digital transformation, two blocks addressed, which one of the important is APIfication, security integrations, and all those stuff, right, and the systems of records. The third part is now the AI requires your guardrails or the governance about how you will be able to make AI flourish in your environment. And from that perspective, the way we have been following the CI triad for cybersecurity or security, a basic CI triad, confidentiality, integrity of data, which I generally tell to all my business people as a point of view, that IT or the technology function is like a thermos. We are keeping everything, whatever you are entering, as it is. So whatever you keep, you will get as it is. So that is the integrity. And of course the accessibility, so CIA. Similarly, the AI demands your FAT, fairness, accountability, and trust, or basically transparency. Right. So these are the three things which we want. Now from practical perspective, companies like in us, the leading housing finance companies or NBFCs, So typically the sovereign data center or sovereignty of data is, I think, a first key concern for us, and that's how we are starting a journey of private cloud to then public cloud, and then public cloud is natively required based on the GPU workloads and the typical AI compute, and then controlling that through your guardrails or typically the extension of particular API services, AI being used as API services, AI being used as self-developed models and deployed on self data center. So these are the key challenges. But as I mentioned, we need the complete prerequisite of digital transformation basics addressed, and then your key AI demands of FAT, those models that we need to address. I think that is all, and we are working in this similar fashion. So Gartner-based land approach is, I think, a very suitable example to look forward to map the requirements.
Perfect. Thanks. Sanjay. So to summarize it for audience, so basically like what you mentioned, that it's not only about the, when you talk about AI, it's not only this AI platform related technological aspect, but also the peripheral aspect, my system of records, my data platform, my governance framework, etc. will be of key interest, right? So how much time is left? I don't see a time counter. Is it, sorry, 5 minutes? Okay, cool. So I'll just open for audience questions, but before that, just one last question, and I can start with you. So there's a lot of discussion is happening, like you all agree in this room, in this panel, that there is significant focus on this topic within each of our individual organizations. But in the journey, which are the key risks, according to you, are not being appreciated by the leaders? Like, they are just somehow keeping it aside or not paying a lot of attention to it. What could be those one or two risks according to you? Or as per your organizations also, yeah.
No, so see, when you start from an account opening point of view, I believe that's where it all starts, right? You're onboarding a customer, you're looking at customer, from a KYC point of view, you're trying to know the customer and bringing the customer in. But today, it is very easy for a fraudster to get into the system, okay, do synthetic identities, fraudulent data, fraudulent bank statements. AI has made it very easy for fraudsters to take this milestone and make it into a very easy cake for them to walk into a bank. I would give an example very recently. The power of fraudsters today. There was a case where we identified a fraudulent current account, right? We blocked that account. There was significant amount of balance in that account. The fraudster challenged us by writing a mail back to us. Okay. Now what he did when we responded, what he did is he wrote a mail back to us, keeping RBI in CC. Okay, so that's the fearless factor that is formed with the fraudsters itself. He kept the RBI IDs in CC and genuine RBI IDs in CC, not like just some random ID, but genuine RBI IDs in CC, because he was trying to test the fear of the bank, trying to create genuineness among the banks. The bank that yes, I'm a genuine customer, I'm writing to RBI also, so I'm not a fraudulent guy. So that's a kind of trust that he's trying to build. Plus also trying to play from a fear factor that I have reached the RBI, now you guys have to really think about continuing to block my account. So it's more about who you're bringing in, okay, because a lot of factors have made it, like AI or other, these kind of new innovations have made it very easy for people to come into the bank. Okay, right. There are agents that are available who help, there's a syndicate that helps them or guides them how to tackle with the bank. If in case you're caught in the bank or in case you want to manipulate the bank, they ask you to go to the branch with the documents, which are the fake documents obviously, that showing that I'm a genuine customer. Because obviously there won't be any cop sitting there. There will be a bank guy who will be saying, right, no, I will not be taking this or accepting this. Okay, so that's how. So those are the vulnerabilities that are there, which is increasing as well.
Yeah. If I summarize it, basically your point is that innovation capability of the fraudster is something probably not getting as important as it should get. Something we undermine. Something I'll come to. Ajay, according to you, you can give an outside-in view, right? So you're serving these customers. What do you think those, customers where they're not paying enough attention, those risks, which there should be?
So, first is like it's been rightly said that when you are putting in agentic AIs, AIs are not just an algorithms, right? It's now a human person that has been, you are bringing him in for your operations, right? Or for your enablement. So I think we should treat that agentic AI similar to the human in security framework, right?
Right.
Like we do a privilege access management and these privileges are been given and everything. So we also have to look all those AIs, agentic AIs in a similar way. How RBAC has been put in place, how the role-based access are given, how those privileges have been taken care. So that is very important. Sometimes my fellow panelist has properly highlighted that we are more in a space wherein we want to showcase a business case as how that business case is and how it is providing the benefits and all. But these are some risks that we have to evaluate before we get into it.
So if I understood you correctly, Ajay, so you're basically saying like as human resources, they kind of leak data.
Right.
Even some of these agentic AI solutions, some of the agents are capable to leak organizations' confidential data to the external world,
Yes.
and that is a risk which organizations is not probably appreciating at this point of time. Okay. Sharad, same like what are the risks you think that's not being?
So typically, as I mentioned, the expectation is speed, and in the case of speed, people are not really much thinking about the risk associated with the deployments and what we will really get into. And as I mentioned, the typical accountability of that AI decision, or for that matter, any decision, who is going to take that. So that is something.
Ownership of
yes,
AI. Okay.
yes. So that becomes the issue typically.
Yeah, Indranil?
I agree with what was already said. I think one important thing we have to look at is cost. Token cost, for example.
Cost is
you
a risk.
are building infrastructure today, which you're planning to use for at least the next 5 years. Nobody knows how token costs are going to go. Right? It's because tomorrow, if the world hypothetically runs out of fuel, like what happened in the West Asia crisis, 30% of the power centers in the world shut down. Nobody knows where token cost is going to go.
Yeah, that's
That is one risk which people have to, and I think you mentioned, you have to look at it from the like a radar rather than, I think Shantanu mentioned that. Are we actually taking a call for the next 5 years? Where is the predictability of the cost?
Okay, so infrastructure risk, which is something like we're probably not paying enough attention, and very interestingly what you say, the cost of resources, it's not only system resources, even human resources, what we saw in the market, right? For certain, advanced modeling experience, those kind of resources, suddenly they are, compensation expectation is going 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and there is no boundary actually. Abhijit,
What risk we are missing is that the
which is the risk organization is not appreciating.
So, I think I'll have a little different take on this. First of all, the cost angle, I think everybody is talking about cost. What are the cost of doing a call over here 20 years back and what is today? And the kind of people are investing on it, I think the per token cost will come down. It's a matter of 3 to 5. And I'm sure in 5 years' time we'll talk about something else, not this. So, well, cost is a concern today, but I don't think that will ease out. That is how the mood laws of AI is. I'll give a little different take on this risk part, and the risk is unlimited. We really didn't quantify if this is done and this is not done. The way is, I think the key point is what they said about accountability. So the way we, at least internally we run our AI system is, we tell the person who is working on the system, if you cannot explain what your AI model has done, then don't roll out that model. So the decision of saying no is very important. And a lot of times the organization in terms of FOMO misses it out and repent it out. So you need to have a right guardrail to say when to say yes and when to say no. That is I think is a very important thing. And one last point is, I think you should do risk categorization in a sense, which one to when. Say for example, if it is a human in the loop is a word synonymous to trust, correct? Now, I will do a human in a loop for a customer-facing application, and probably for a customer-facing application. For a non-customer-facing application, I will do ulta. I will do a AI in the loop. So it is depending upon what I am delivering to the customer, I will decide who have to be in the loop, who is up and who is down, and I think that makes it
fantastic. So transparency or explainability is one of the key areas. I'm sorry to keep you
No
waiting.
problem. No, actually, I was going to speak on this itself. So I think these risks which the panelists have talked about, well documented, right, and certainly very important risks. I see two other risks, right? One is over-reliance on AI, right? I think what is happening, human in the loop, human judgment for agentic AI, human on the loop, all good in principle. But what tends to happen sometimes is that humans are there in the process, formally there, but they tend to defer to AI, thinking that AI is more intelligent, AI has all the data, and AI makes the correct decisions, right? So there is over-reliance on AI, and that human judgment then becomes missing, right? Humans are not missing, but human judgment is missing. So I think that's a key risk as AI becomes more, gets adapted increasingly. The second one, which is, I think in India as well, it's, catching up, and I was sharing with someone at the lunch table, is really the blue washing or the AI washing, right? Like greenwashing has become, given ESG or sustainability a bad name, nowadays every company that you talk to, seem to be AI powered, AI enabled, etc. To what extent are they really using AI? Is it just a chatbot? Making tall claims without really, having the actual AI or the algorithms in place. I think that's really, the key. And the final thing is really the model drift. And there I bring in the data element, which you alluded to, because data has to be representational, it has to be contextual, and it has to be recent and valid, right? So if the data is no longer valid, trends are changing, etc., then of course the model drift becomes quite important and gives rise to incorrect decisions.
Perfect.
Thank you.
That's really insightful, Shantanu, like in terms of the various risks that we heard, and the last part of it is, like we heard that the resources risk, your infrastructure risk, your fraud risk, and similarly some of this risk that we just heard.
If we were to have the PNB scam season 2 coming today, would AI be able to prevent it? And if not, what would?
Anyone of you want to take that?
I can take a stab at that.
Sure.
Yes, in the PNB case, it was very well documented, right? The controls, etc., were not in place. The SWIFT, maker checker, all of that was not there. So obviously, clearly there are governance lapses. But if you look at, if someone wants to commit a fraud, right? It's very difficult for any system. This is my view, to prevent that, right, from happening, because there are always ingenious ways of working around security protocols, etc. Having said that, where AI can help is basically tracking the past incidents, right, and then giving you a list of a checklist, right, kind of things that you should do or should not. As they say, for example, despite having all preventive measures, it's almost impossible, or actually impossible, to prevent a cyber attack, right? But you have to develop the resilience. So the question basically is similar. In this case of fraud, etc., if the human intent is not there, a fraud can certainly happen, but how can you contain it? How can you minimize it? How can you isolate it? I think there AI and emerging technology can certainly help.
So, for the paucity of time, let me conclude the session, and thank you so much. I know that you have taken slightly longer time but you're a great audience. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.